Hey, 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 happy Friday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. So it's Friday, TGIF, eh? Tonight, I'm actually going to share a how to play as well as review Valparaiso, which is from my pals over at Stronghold Games as well as DLP Games. So I will be getting to this in just a bit. Also, I got some tabletop gaming news for us tonight. We'll discuss what's going to go on beginning next Monday. We're gonna run a week as a kind of a test and see what we run across, see how things go. I will talk about that once we finish up the tabletop gaming news. So, do want to point out, tonight is Friday, September 6th. This is episode 359 of The Daily Dope. So, this is a live stream. If this is the first time that you tune in, keep in mind, this is not rocket surgery. This is very, very casual. I usually share game unboxings, reviews, page-throughs of RPG products. That might be changing, which is what we'll discuss after the news. But it's just a very casual show. None of this is all like scripted outside of the news pieces about the latest in tabletop gaming news that I share. So, because it is live, chat is available as well. It is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to chat. So, if you'd like to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe there's something about Valparaiso you want to get a closer look at or have a question about, by all means, please chime in and I will respond. The Madman is already in chat on a Friday evening as well. Good to see you, Madman. So I got a contest. I'm going to reveal the winner of that in just a bit as well. I think I'll wait till the end of the show. Leave some folks in suspense to see who wins the Pathfinder prize package. Yes, the PDF prize package I've got. So I also want to point out, if you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. You check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you dig them, by all means, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that little bell, because it will not only notify you when a new video is uploaded, and I do standalone videos quite often, it'll also tell you within about 5 minutes or so when the stream does go live. Of course, be sure to tell a friend. In fact, tell 2 friends. And don't forget to visit thegaminggang.com, which is my home website, which has over 600 game reviews, about 9,000 articles, podcasts, the whole shebang is all there at thegaminggang.com. So, got some tabletop gaming news tonight. Not a bunch. Some interesting stuff. I was kind of surprised. I thought there'd be more cooking, but not really. Anyway, but I do have some news. Do want to point out, I do understand there are some folks out there who do not care for the tabletop gaming news segment. If that's the case, please take a peek at the show notes. If you're watching after the fact, if you're watching live, you're kind of hanging out for the tabletop gaming news. You're going to go make a sandwich or grab a beverage or something. But take a look at the show notes. And of course, click on Show More to see these show notes. There will be timestamps. You can skip right on past to the how to play as well as the review. So, Xcelera X1 is in chat as well. Good to see you, X1. Thanks for stopping on by. Let's jump on into the gaming news, because Iello Games has a new Bruno Cathala design. It's going to be arriving this fall. And I've got the dope on Ishtar Gardens of Babylon, and it does not star Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman. From the award-winning designer Bruno Cathala, Ishtar is a game in which you play the role of a gardener aiming to transform the dry desert into the lost hanging gardens of Babylon. Why would they be lost? Aren't you creating them? They're not lost. To accomplish your mission, you'll have to plant flowers, which, if you place them well, can help you gather precious gems and activate actions. Whether to buy trees, which will block the link between two flower spots, as well as earning you points, or to purchase upgrades, such as getting 2 more points per tree card at the end of the game. Collecting gems will be a crucial part of the game. Get them before your opponent. Recruit apprentices. Send them to earn points in the copses of flowers you've created. Block others, and think carefully of the upgrades to purchase if you want to become the best gardener at the end of the game. Ishtar is for 2 to 4 players. I believe it's ages 12 and up. Might be 14 and up because there are a lot of little teeny gems. So, because I did see this at Origins, I did see it laid out. It does play in around 45 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it arrives November 9th. So good to see Iello Games releasing some stuff that's got a little more strategy to it. Lately, Iello's been releasing some pretty... I mean, not that it's bad, but I'm just saying it seems like they've been releasing a lot of really light games. Really, really light games. So this looks like this has a little bit of meat on its bones. Talking about meat on a game's bones, Z-Man Games is going to be releasing a new expansion for Terra Mystica. I think it's Mystica. I think it's how it's pronounced, Terra Mystica. It's coming early next year. I've got the dope on Merchants of the Seas. The factions of Terra Mystica have opened their doors for business beyond the trading post. More trade flows between the factions with their brand new ships sailing on rivers. A new large building, the shipyard, upgrades your shipping or range and produces ships within 20 faction board extensions. Factions that export will receive victory points and resources depending on the building they deliver to. Factions importing and receiving an opponent's ship will gain power. Ships will dig and build in adjacent hexes, so watch out. Digging ships. Okay. Ships can also be consumed and form new dwellings. The ship movement and dwelling actions add a new tactical movement element to the already deep strategy of Terra Mystica, while maintaining perfect information. The factions must also adjust to an entire new set of 12-round scoring tiles, 4 new ship-related favors, 3 new bonus tiles, 3 additional power actions, town tiles, and 2 maps, Loon Lakes and Fjords. The maps and most of the round scoring may also be used with the base game if desired. The Fire and Ice expansion is not required, but the material for them is provided. Terra Mystica, and of course, Merchants of the Seas, is for 2 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in an hour or 2, and this expansion will carry an MSRP of $49.99 when it hits in January. I have heard about Terra Mystica. I've never had an opportunity to play it. Never had a chance to play it. Now, I know they took the system, wasn't it last year? Z-Man Games took the mechanics and moved it into like a science fiction setting. Can't remember the title of the game, but I'm almost positive that they did. So, could be interesting. Moving right along. Next Move Games has the 3rd release in the Azul line coming soon, and I've got the dope on Summer Pavilion. At the turn of the 16th century, King Manuel I commissioned Portugal's greatest artisans to construct grandiose buildings. After completing the palaces of Evora and Sintra, the king sought to build a summer pavilion to honor the most famous members of the royal family. This construction was intended for the most talented artisans, whose skills meet the splendor that the royal family deserves. Sadly, King Manuel I died before construction ever began. In Azul, Summer Pavilion, players return to Portugal to accomplish the task that never began. As a master artisan, you must use the finest materials to create the Summer Pavilion while carefully avoiding wasting supplies. Only the best will rise to the challenge to honor the Portuguese royal family. Azul Summer Pavilion lasts 6 rounds, and in each round, players draft tiles, then place them on their individual player boards to score points. Each of the 6 colors of tiles is wild during the rounds. And suddenly, for some strange reason, I do not have the info about release date and pricing. What in the world happened to that? All right, let me scramble and grab that real quick. I tell you. Hold on. That's weird. That is very, very weird. I gotta be honest, I have not played any of the Azul games to this point. They're more like, like puzzle, like Euro games, which not necessarily my style. Anyway, the game is intended for 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. Takes about 30 minutes to play, and it will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives in December. There we go. There we have it. Got that news piece done. That was weird. All right, my final news piece. Let's talk a little bit about role-playing games, because N-World Publishing, or I believe they just refer to themselves as N Publishing, has collected a series of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons classes and the Master Class Codex. The first is available in PDF. I've got the dope. Alchemists, savants, monster tamers, nobles, gunfighters, tinkerers, and more. This compilation of the books A Touch of Class and A Touch More Class contains 16 full character classes for your 5e games. These new classes are fully designed and detailed with exciting class-themed abilities. Each of these classes also contain a range of subclasses to further customize them. Play as the Brilliant Savant, the Black Powder Gunfighter, or travel with exotic animal companions as the Monster Tamer. Harness the power of your environment as the Geomancer, or create wondrous inventions as the Tinkerer. This book contains the following 16 classes. There's the Alchemist, scientific sorcery. The Alchemist uses an almost scientific approach to magic to make alchemical discoveries. There's actually loads and loads of information about each of these classes. I'm just going to kind of skim them a little bit to kind of share them with you. There's the Cardcaster, Seers of Fate. The Cardcaster uses a tarot deck to release magic, playing cards to cast spells, although she doesn't always have control over what spells are currently made available to her by the winds of fate. There's the Diabolist, Students of Darkness. Diabolists deal with forbidden secrets and dark entities, grasping for power through dark pacts. There's the Feywalker, a taste of primal chaos. The Feywalker is a mysterious warrior with mystical powers. Feywalkers can teleport short distances, breathe in air and water, and enchant others with a glance. There's the Morph, changing faces. The Morph is a shape-shifting specialist, able to slide between different forms. Morphs have a choice of 3 essences: the Doppelganger, the Primordial Beast, and the Trickster. There's also the Noble, chess master and commander. Leader, tactician, and a source of inspiration, the full 20-level Noble class is able to command and inspire through 3 paths: the path of the heart, the path of the brave, and the path of the tactician. There's the Occultist, freeing the monster within. The Occultist allows you to play a monster with a choice of 3 distinct paths: Abomination, Vampire, or Were Creature. There's the Blood Weaver, the Macabre Magician. Blood Weavers fuel their magical powers with their own blood, enhancing their own prowess, healing or bolstering allies, and flaying open their foes. There's the Fate Bender, Destiny's Chosen. At the extreme edges of Fate's tapestry, Fate Benders build upon its fraying threads, tugging at the strands of chance. There's the Gemini, two-faced warrior, evading and confounding enemies. Gemini create dangerous semi-real multiples of themselves and copy their foes' techniques. There's a Geomancer, nature's hearth mage. These mages turn the surrounding elements into potent weapons and tools and fuel their spells. Then there's the Gunfire, Black Powder Desperado. These warriors shoot their way across the field of battle, pausing only long enough to aim their next bullets. And more. There are plenty more classes as well. This 191-page PDF is available at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. So gotta say, this sounds really cool. An N-World Insider does some really nice stuff. So I would take a guess these classes are pretty well thought out and pretty well play tested as well. They do sound really, really interesting. So we've got Kabuki Kid has arrived as well. The Madman is mentioning this Masterclass Codex. Sounds pretty interesting. Yes, I like the options too. There's a lot of pretty cool options. I did not read all of them because I would have gone on for probably another 5 minutes. So even skipping a lot of the details. So I will have a news piece up tomorrow because I usually follow up the news from the show to get they get articles on thegaminggang.com the following day. So if you're interested, check that out. I will list all of the different classes that are available in the Masterclass Codex. So there you have it. That is the news for tonight. Like I said, not a ton of news. I'm gonna zip through it fairly quickly. So let's see now. I should also point out that beginning Monday, the show is going to focus pretty much on tabletop gaming news. Just for the week, I want to try something out here because I get views on the show, but I don't get as many views as I got when I did standalone videos. So I'm going to do just about 30 minutes to about every night, Monday through Friday, same time, 7 o'clock Central. I will do some news, about 30 minutes or so. But I am also going to have other videos as well. So I'm still going to do unboxings and first looks at RPGs and do some reviews as well. This will also kind of free me up to be able to do some stuff when I have available time. Because sometimes I've got open time on the weekend that I can crank out some reviews and things like that, or first looks or unboxings, what have you. And a lot of times I just don't do it because I figure, I'll keep it for next week. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. It's always evolving. I figure it's gonna be episode 360 of the Daily Dope. So couldn't keep the show the same for years and years. Oh, look like Ed Sullivan to you? Got a really big shoe, really big. Okay, so anyway, that will be starting on Monday. So I'm not sharing, hey, what's coming up next week? Because I don't know yet. I honestly don't know. I will mention that a couple of role-playing game products that I talked about on yesterday's show. So from Monkey Blood Design, they've got the Midderlands, I think it's just pronounced Midderlands. They're old school Renaissance supplements. Their setting it's for swords and wizardry, but you can adapt it to anything. Pretty much nearly any fantasy role-playing game. So they really appreciated me sharing the news. They're going to send me a package with a bunch of their stuff. So we're going to actually get to take a close look at that. Also, I talked about the King of Dungeons. I guess I'm going to get a copy of King of Dungeons from Grand Scheme Publishing. And then, now off the top of my head, I can't remember the company. Another company reached out as far as doing some RPG stuff. But most of their stuff is in PDF. Or at least what they wanted me to take a look at is in PDF currently. So I said, yeah, if you want to send it, that's great. But Sammy does my PDF reviews. I don't do PDF reviews anymore because I just don't have time. So that's kind of cool. We're gonna get to see the Midlands, and we're gonna get to see the King of Dungeons. So pretty interesting. And all I did was, share the news. I always appreciate when companies thank me for sharing a news piece, because 99% of the time it's not as if they've contacted me saying, oh, Jeff, please share this. Especially when it comes to independent RPG companies. I just stumble across this stuff and I'm like, that looks interesting. And I share it as the news. So there you have it. All right, so I am going to jump into my how to play and review of Valparaiso in just a moment. But do want to mention, if you're familiar with the Daily Dope as well as the Gaming Gang, this is pretty much a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you like the site, if you like the show, if you like the channel, by all means, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide funds, grant monies to organizations throughout the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. So if you like what I do, I'm not sitting here with my hand out asking you to send me dough, but please consider helping out some animals in need. And of course, if you do, please shoot me an email. My email address is right down there in the corner. It's jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. If you'd like, I'll give you a shout out in the following show. So there you have it. All right, so let's get on into the how to play. Pretty quick. I mean, we're like 23 minutes after the hour. Normally it's, 30 some minutes into the show. Oh, we jump into this. Anyway, Valparaiso is from DLP Games and Stronghold Games. Designed by Stefan Maltz and Luis Maltz, with artwork provided by Michael Menzel. Game is for 2 to 5 players for ages 12 and up. Plays in around 45 to 90 minutes. The game is available now. This was an Origins release, and it came out in stores not too long ago. It does carry an MSRP of $59.95. I will mention that I have seen this online for as low as $43. So don't get all bent out of shape because I mentioned online retailers. I'm not forcing you to go buy stuff online. I'm just mentioning if saving a few bucks is super important, you may want to take a peek. All right, let's move on over to the other camera because I've got everything set up. I actually got this set up as if it was a 5-player game. I am not going to go through like every single tiny detail of the game. I'm going to kind of give you an overview and kind of discuss the game itself. And Viper Dave has arrived in chat. Good to see you, Viper Dave. Let me grab a quick sip here. All right, so I'm going to kind of take a tour here. We will zoom in. We will get closer looks at things. So this is the game board. So the premise of the game is it is the 17th century. This is Chile, the city of Valparaiso, and Chile has just recently declared their independence. We're supposed to, each of the players represents a wealthy family who is looking to kind of take advantage of the opening of trade as well as try to build up the city of Valparaiso. So basically that's the premise of the game. I will point out that the theme, it's not, this is not dripping in theme. This could kind of be just about anything, to be very honest. That doesn't necessarily make it a bad game. That just means that it's the theme is, I don't want to say it's tacked on. Let's just say it's got a tenuous grasp on the game itself. So, kind of taking a look around. So this is the ocean out here. These cards represent different trading partners. I know one of them is getting kind of cut off here. In fact, what I'll do, let's move this over just a little bit, because there's something else up here that I want to make sure that we get to see. And I don't want my noggin cutting it off. There we go. That We'll fix that. So anyway, these are kind of trading partners. So each of the players has a ship available to them. That's these down here. And each of these ships are located right now. They're in the harbor, but you can set out to sea. And of course, there are resources available to you in the game. There are 3 different resources. And we have copper, silver, and wheat. So we've got the orange, the gray, and the white represent copper, silver, and wheat. They are all equal in value. There's no real, it's not like, oh, well, copper's worth half as much as silver or anything like that. It's just we have the 3 different resources here. And if you notice, you'll see in these ocean spaces, we show 3 white, 3, well, it's orange, it's yellow here, but these are orange. And then the gray. So essentially, if your ship were to go out here and you had 3 copper, you can trade the 3 copper and get one of these cards out here. Because the game itself is an action programming game, and you use a deck of cards to do that. We'll take a closer look at that in just a few moments. You also see out here we've got money. We've got different denominations of pesos. We've got 10. We've got 5. We have 2. And we have 1. So money is very important in this game. You are always going to need pesos. And if you find yourself running behind everybody as far as cash, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have a very hard time competing in this game, because in some ways money's almost king, because you're always spending money on something. So anyway, so that's the ocean out there. This is the harbor where your ships begin. This is the town of Valparaiso. We have these little boxes here where we can build houses, and this is part of the aspect of trying to build up and beautify and expand the town of Valparaiso to turn it into a city. So we have the opportunity to build houses here. Then we also have marketplaces, or trading posts that are out in the winterlands, or I should say hinterlands. Why did I say winterlands? Duh, the hinterlands. We also have different locations here. These are almost like checkpoints where the players can actually build custom houses. You can build trading posts at these locations in these markets as well. We also have the trading tiles. We have these different tiles that run down the side. This is kind of our backup supply. But you'll see that each of these markets have these tiles here. Now, when you're setting up, these are going to be actually marked A through E. So each of these will go, so we have A slot, so we go A all the way up to E. So you're going to randomly assign each of these to one of the slots by way of its letter. So the A's go down at the bottom, then the B's, then the C's, then the D's, then the E's. But it's going to be, you're going to kind of randomly put these out here. The setup for the game does take a little bit of time. It doesn't take a ton of time. It just takes about maybe 10 minutes. So it's not horrible, but I do want to point out that it will take a few minutes to set this up, because you're going to have to set up these tiles. You got to set up these cards. Each of the players, you got to make sure that they've got their deck as far as their action cards. Each of the players are also going to have a player board, which we're going to take a closer look at as well in just a few moments. You see, Flaming Huron is stopped into chat. Good to see you, Flaming Huron. Always good to see you popping in. So, quite a few people hanging out on a Friday night. I'm a little surprised, to be honest. I figured maybe I have like one person, or maybe I'd be talking to myself. Hopefully the gang shows up on Monday, even though it's only going to be news. So, but you can still hang out and chat. And we can actually probably get into more conversations about different things as opposed to, like I'm always focusing on doing an unboxing or review or what have you. All right, so the other thing that's on this board here is this is our victory point tracker. It's going to run down the side and across the bottom. So we see here, wow, it's like, boom, 18. Well, the first player to get 18 victory points is going to trigger the end of the game. So as soon as somebody gets 18 victory points, the game is over. But you're going to do your final scoring. I will point out that it's possible for somebody to hit 18 victory points and not win the game, because there's other aspects that you can gain victory points from, especially these cards that are up top here. Because everyone's going to start off with a deck of cards that will provide their actions that are available to them. These cards up here actually add to this. So if you earn these cards, it gives you new actions, more powerful actions than the ones that you have already. We also have a first player marker, which is kind of cool. It's the lighthouse. So, and I will point out that the first player marker does not necessarily just change to like the person on your right or person on your left. There is actually a specific person who gets to be the first player for each round, and I'll talk about that in just a bit. We also have a little timer. We got an egg timer here, and this is used once you get the hang of the game. I will talk about that as well. So Flaming Huron says, it's Saturday morning in Australia, and I'm not cleaning the house. There you go. There you go. Taking a break, relaxing, catching the show. I will talk about this timer, the timing aspect, because it's supposedly the first couple of times you play the game, you're supposed to not use the timer because you're supposed to time when you're choosing your actions, when you're programming your actions. I'll be the first to point out that one of the gang despised that timer. So this was kind of a divisive game as far as the gang went, and I will talk about that once we get into kind of my final thoughts and the review. So that is the layout. We've got our resources here. We've got our coins over here. Every player is going to get their own player board. You're going to set up each of the ships are going to go into the harbor. Each of the players are going to have their two workers. Their two merchants are basically what these meeples are. And you get one merchant is going to start off in Valparaiso. Each of the players are going to also be able to place a merchant in one of the villages around the in the hinterlands, in the outskirts, in the far off villages, the jungle, what have you. So that's how you're going to start off the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. We're going to kind of zoom in a little bit so we can get a better look at the player board as well as the actions. That should be okay. So we're kind of taking a look at the center of town here. So each of the players will get an action board. And the action board is going to have a few different things. Let's move these ships so we can kind of focus on that. So, first we have the mayor's house, which we're also going to program our actions using this board here. So we have the mayor's house. We've got two more merchants that are available to us. So we can eventually have 4 merchants on the board. Each of the players are going to start off and choose 3 resources to put in their warehouse. Each player has to choose a different selection. So for an example, I have one of each. If we were playing a 5-player game, the next person or the other 4 people who pick cannot have this. They would have to go with, like 2 silver and a copper, or 2 silver and a wheat, what have you. Everybody's initial selection is going to be different. Then we also have, this is our ship. So this represents the cargo that's on our ship that's out there. So we can put 6 resources on the ship. Because we're using these ships to go and trade, and I already showed you that each of the trade locations are going to be 1 resource, 3 of a kind. If you're going to fill it up to 6, you're going to have 3 of one resource, 3 of another resource. If you are able to load your ship with 6, you'll score a victory point immediately after doing that. As I mentioned, there's all these different little ways to get victory points. And once you hit those 18, once somebody hits 18 victory points, that's when you trigger the final scoring. We also have houses. Now, these houses here can be different things. They can be used as houses if we build them in Valparaiso. They can be trading posts if we build them in the markets. And they can also be custom houses if we build them in areas like right here, where this is a checkpoint. And I will zoom back out a little bit so we can see more of the map, more of the board, I should say, as I kind of get into the how to play. So these houses can represent different things. If we build all 4 houses, we'll get a victory point automatically. We can also get victory points based on if we build one out as a custom house. We build a location here, we would get 3 victory points. You can see here, as we go along, say I built that house right there. Next to each of these spaces where these houses go, we're going to indicate something that we'll get every round if we built this house, if the house belongs to us. We also have locations where we get victory points for building the houses. We also have later on, we get areas where if I built this house, I'm scoring a victory point every round. So, lots of things for you to consider in this game because, as I mentioned, you need the cash. You're going to want cash, but you're also going to want to build these. You're going to want to build these houses as quickly as you possibly can because you want to make your impression. You want to make your mark on this board. All right, so then we've got the action cards. And each of the players have a deck of cards based on the color. Now, this is a language-independent game, so everything has iconography. The iconography is pretty simple to understand. Of course, in the rules, and the rule book is not super long, the rules also have a section that explains each of the achievement cards, which are the ones that you're going to earn when you go and trade, when you send a ship to trade. Okay, so we're going to see most of these cards are going to have 2 options. We've got the main action up top, and we've got an alternate action down below. So, for an example, I can basically sell any one resource and get 10 pesos. My alternate action is I can gain silver if I play that action. All right, so here we've got 1 of each, buys me a merchant. Or I can get 2, which is basically I'm getting a copper, I'm getting a wheat. This is basically allowing me to load my ship, or I can get 5 pesos. This one allows me to move my merchants. This is not just moving one merchant, it allows me to move all of my merchants. There are penalties for moving, well, I shouldn't say penalties. You have to pay if you move your merchants relatively far. Or I can get 5 pesos. I can spend 10 pesos to build a house where I have a merchant, or build a building, I should say, because not always a house. Or I can get a resource of any kind. This one's upside. Oh, these are upside down. What's going on? This allows me to trade at any of the trading posts. Any and all trading posts, I should say, where I have merchants. Or I can get myself a copper. This allows me to move my ship to locations. So essentially, it allows me to go out to sea to make the trades, or to go from one end of the outer sea to the other. So really, there's really no location that's more than 2 spots away. So that's pretty cool. I can move my ship. And then this one here allows me to set sail. And then I've got my option of getting just the wheat. So those are the actions. So what we do is we actually program our actions. So we have 4 spots open down here. We have a 5th spot, but this 5th spot will not open up until we build 2 buildings. When we build 2 of these houses. This is also the governor's house, or I should say mayor's house. I take that back. It's the mayor's house. If we put a card here, we have to pay 5 pesos to place our action there. So, and I'll explain why it's important to actually sometimes consider putting your card there. So what you're going to do is each turn, you are going to select a number of actions. So we can do this. And of course, you're going to put these cards face down. These cards will go face down so your opponents can't see what you're doing. So let's say I'm just gonna leave these up as an example. And let's see. Let's just, for the heck of it, let's do it. All right. So what'll happen is if I'm like the first player, then I reveal my first card. And I can also, if I had, let's say for an example, I paid up here. Okay, so I paid to put this card at the mayor's house. So when it's my first turn of the round, I have the opportunity to either play this card or I can play this card and take that action. If I needed to, and I need to try to get one of these actions that I have later on and actually take them early, I can pay. So if I use this card, I can pay 1 peso. If I use this card, it's 2 pesos. If I use this card, it's 3 pesos. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but the thing is, if you're constantly having to pay pesos because you're not programming your actions logically, then you're going to be in deep trouble because you're not going to have money for other things like moving your guys, your merchants, around the board. So as an example here, so we're going to zoom back out so we can give you a better, we just need to get the board in. There we go. Okay, just for an example, because we can get this in. I'm going to swap spots. Okay, so I've got a merchant down here, let's say. So I spend 1 of each of my resources, which I already had, right? I spent all of those, and that gives me a new merchant. So the new merchant would go into Valparaiso. So I already have another merchant sitting in Valparaiso. Now I just pushed him out of the way so that we could see what was going on with these cards. Okay, so now I have 2 merchants in Valparaiso. So that was my action. Now it's going to be another player's action. So everybody else is going to get to take their action. So let's say we're playing a 5-player game. Maybe I was the first player. Well, then now I wait for the other 4 players to all take their first actions, and then it comes back to me. So my next action would be, okay, I'm going to move my merchants. So what I want to do is I want to get one of my merchants down here probably so I can do this trade twice because I can get some money. And I might want to move this merchant out to another trading post as well. When you've got 5 players, you'll tend to kind of like bump heads a lot on the board, which is cool with me. I like that. One of the gang did not care for that. They felt that it's like every time they wanted to do something, somebody had already beaten them to the punch, which will happen, but you can mitigate that by cleverly setting up your actions and spending some pesos once in a while to make sure that you go first, or that you do your action before, if it's the third action and you need to do it now, right off the bat, your first phase, then you're going to pay to do it. If you just sit back and just do things in the order as you've laid them out every turn, it's going to be difficult for you with 5 players. One cool thing is that this board has a flip side to it. It's dual-sided, so the board on the other side is actually for 2 or 3 players. So there's one fewer trading post. It's a little bit smaller. So one thing I will point out, if you're playing 2 players, very rarely do you actually bump heads against somebody else and get in their way. It does not happen all that often. So anyway, let's take care of this. So I can move one spot for free. So he can go here for free. And he could go here for free. So as you can see, there's like little roads, little passages. There's rivers. You could actually, there's an action card that you can earn that allows you to use rivers to move, which are actually very cool. Because then you don't have to actually go through the custom houses and stuff like that. So, okay, so that's my first move there, So that would not cost me anything. So I can move one more. Now that's going to cost me money. So that would actually cost me a peso. So you start off, depending on the number of players, you'll have a different starting amount. With 5 players, you start off with 20 pesos. So you have some cash to kind of play around with. So at the end of this, I have now moved my merchants to these locations here so I can do some trading coming up. All right, so everybody goes around, they're doing their thing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. So now it's on to me again. My next action that I've got, might as well put it up here, make it a little easier to see, would be that, okay, so I'm going to now do my trading. So each of these tiles share something, and they're all unique. So it'll show like a number range. So here it says 1 to 3x. So essentially this means I can do this up to 3 times during my phase. So for every merchant you have or every trading post that you've built, for an example, like so, that would be my trading post, you get to make that trade. So in a situation like this, I already have 2 merchants in this location. I'm going to be able to get 5 pesos and 2 pesos. So really, I get to do this twice. So I get to earn myself 12 pesos. Ka-ching! There you go. So got some cashola for that. So that would go into my bank. But remember, this here means I can trade at any of the posts that I've got a merchant at. Well, I got a merchant down here at this other post. Let me zoom back out and I will show you. So he's down here. But the thing is, there's already somebody here there's another merchant from another player down there. If I want to trade down here, it's going to cost me a peso. And that peso I actually have to give to that player. this situation here, I could basically get a silver and a copper for my merchant. I like that idea. I'm going to end up doing that. But here's what happens when you do a trade. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to zoom back out a little bit more so my head's not blocking this. So I made this trade down here, right? So now what I'll do is I will take this, I will place it up top here. I'm going to push these down. These will move down, and this now moves into here. So we always have a rotation of different things going on at the markets, at the marketplaces. So down here, where I do so I get a silver and a copper. So I take my silver and I take my copper. I would take this, place it up top here, push this down, take this one, place it here, push that down. So what happens is that if you are not paying attention, you will get burned in the marketplace because you'll want to do an action down there. You've sent your merchant there, or you've left your merchant there in order to be able to perform that action for that trade, and somebody else goes before you, boom, that trade's gone. And you're like, son of So that does happen. Anyway, so that was my last card there, right? So now everybody goes and they do whatever, blah, 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 blah. Now, remember, I've got this card that I placed on the mayor, on the mayor's house. I do not have to use that. I can leave that card there if I want. So I can leave that for another round. I don't have to use it. So everybody takes their turns. Now it's back to me. Now I'd be like, okay, so now I can sell one of my resources here and get 10 pesos. Okay, so I will sell, let's just say I sell a silver, and I get 10 more pesos. There are a couple of things that you can do at any time, and it does not take an action card. You can sell any of your resources and get 3 pesos. That's why this was a big deal, getting 10 pesos for one. So you can do that at any time. You don't have to use a card. You just do it during your own phase. Or you can spend 20 pesos to earn yourself a victory point. Boom. Take a little of that with you. So you can do that as well. So just want to toss those out. Now, at the end of the round, when everybody have played their action cards, what you're going to end up doing is any location that you have a trading post built, if you have merchants there, they have to go back to Valparaiso. If you do not have a trading post like I had there, I can leave a merchant here, but any extras have to go back. So, for an example here, we've got these two. Remember, I paid the green player 1 peso in order to trade down here. Well, if they ended up being the first player, then once again, if we're both sitting there, if they go ahead of me in the turn order, then I would have to pay them once again. If I ended up going ahead of them in the turn order, then they would pay me as far as with this here. So, also at the end of the round, what you would do is you're going to look at who's built stuff, who's built houses in the town, and they will earn their special bonus, be it resources, pesos, victory points, what have you. So, as another example, let's say we went out and we traded. Let's say we had 3 of a kind and I set sail. I played my card like that. Right? So that moved me. That'll move me out there. But remember, that just moved me. I actually have to play this to trade. So when you set sail with your resources and you're going to trade with one of these foreign nations, it's actually going to take you 2 cards. So it shows you're going to subtract the 3 of a kind, and you're going to take one of the cards up here. So let's say I did that. So these cards are all marked by an A. And these actions are going to be bigger actions, more impressive actions than your little starter deck. I don't want to say it's like a deck building aspect to the game, but you can add better and more impressive actions to your available cards. And of course, you're going to use those actions rather than other actions. So I have these pesos out here. So the first person to trade out here is going to get that money. So if I'm the first person trading out here, I would get the 5 pesos plus I get to take one of these cards. So once I take one of these cards, and let's say I take, I'm going to take this one. All right. So it's going to tell me I can spend 5 pesos and a resource of any kind, and I can get a victory point by doing that. That's my action. And it's got a little victory point indicator up in the corner. So I'll zoom back in a little bit for you guys, so you can kind of see this card. So it indicates here that I get 2 victory points at the end of the game. So bang, I've got that. I get my 5 pesos for making that trade. Now we have a side deck of cards here that we're going to replace the cards up top as we trade, as we make trades. So we've got A cards that we start off with, and then we have B cards, and we have B1 and B2, and the B2 go on the bottom. Take the B1s, of course you shuffle them up. So we would replace the card I just took with this card. What'll happen though is if there are still A cards out there and you're trading. So let's say another player goes up into that center area and they trade and they want to take this B card. If there are still A cards out there, they have to pay 10 pesos in order to be able to take this card, because there are A cards out there. Now, one of the interesting things is that those 10 pesos actually will go into an area. Popping back out a little bit. The 10 pesos will actually go to an area. Let's do it like this, right? So there was the B card. Let's say purple players out there. They make their trade. They take that card. We're going to replace that card with a new one. But they had to pay 10 pesos. So what happens is those 10 pesos will actually go into the ocean area that has the most A cards left. So let's say everybody's already been out there and they've already gathered up the money, the pesos that were out there to be had, okay, when this took place. So now they want this B card. They get the B card, I should say. They wanted this B card. They got the B card. We replaced it. Now we got 10 pesos that they had to pay in to take that card. It's going to go over here because this has 3 of the A cards. This only has 2 A cards. This has 1 A card. So it incents other players to go after these other cards. So otherwise, everybody would just be trading over here so they could get the B cards. So what will eventually happen is it gets expensive. If you've got A cards left out there, it starts getting expensive for you to start getting these B cards, which of course are even better actions to add to your deck of cards than the A cards already. So you're going to continue to send your merchants out. You're going to look to build houses in Valparaiso. You're going to look to build custom houses in these locations here. So what happens is, if I have a custom house here, let's get rid of these guys for a sec. Let's say I wanted to go over here, right? So in my movement, if I play that movement card, normally that'd be my first spot that I get to move. Then I would have to pay to get to this location here. But because I own that custom house, that doesn't count. So this would actually be my first move. So that helps me in that respect. It makes it easier for me to move around with my merchant. And you're usually going to kind of like try to do this, try to get a custom house with a trading or a marketplace that you kind of want to hang out at. You're not going to throw these up all over the place because it's going to be a waste of your houses, your buildings. So, but as an example, let's say I wanted to kind of hang out at this one here. Maybe I've already built a trading post at it. So if anybody else wants to come here, so for an example, at the end of my round, he has to go back here. So let's say green player's like, oh, I want to go over here because I really want to get that action. They go here, they're going to have to pay me 2 pesos. So it's a tax. It's a custom house. So they're going to have to pay a tax just to go on this path to move to there. And then because I own a trading post here, they would have to pay me another peso to make a trade at my marketplace that I have my trading post at. So eventually what's going to happen is you're either going to have somebody hit 18 victory points, and that's going to trigger the end, or you're going to run out of these cards. You're going to run out of the A and B cards. I'll be the first to point out that never happened to us. Somebody always got to 18 victory points to trigger the end game scoring. So once you've done that, all you've got to do is count up the victory points that you've got from your action cards that you've earned from going out trading. And keep in mind, you can still cash in your 20 pesos for a victory point as well. And we have seen games where the money that somebody had left over, once they cash that in to get their victory points, determine the winner of the game. So don't forget that you've got the ability to get the victory point for 20 pesos. And of course, you can sell any of your resources for 3 pesos. So it's important. Do not forget that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the scoring phase is super, super easy. Very, very easy to take care of. That pretty much in itself is Valparaiso. There is the mention of a timing mechanic, as I started to talk about. So the premise is, once you've played a couple of games of Valparaiso, what you should now do is that you leave that sitting here. Everybody goes to do their programming their actions, right? So everybody takes their deck. Let's get this A card out of here. Everybody's going to take their deck and they're going to program their actions. So the first person who's done programming their actions is going to flip that over. So now this is counting down to make sure that everybody else only has a limited amount of time to get their programmed actions in. So once you've done that, you're going to flip this over. And it's about a minute is about how long this is going to take before it runs out. Once it runs out, you then count down from 5 backwards at about second intervals. So you'd be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then that's it. Everybody's done. If you haven't gotten all your actions in, or you don't have them in the right order that you wanted them in, oh well, too bad. That's just how it works. That didn't bother me at all, because, you know, I don't really experience a lot of analysis paralysis too often. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't mess up, because, I mean, I've played, I don't want to say umpteen, but I've played quite a few different action programming games, and I have messed up. I have messed up like playing Nuclear War and had the rocket before the warhead crap like that. So it does happen. So effectively what it's trying to do is it's trying to kind of speed up the play. And of course, it's possible for people to make mistakes. So, it can happen where people are going to make mistakes to, I don't know. Personally, I didn't care for the fact that the timer's in it. Like I said, it doesn't bother me. But in my opinion, I don't know if it really adds much to it. I could see if you had people who just spend way too much time trying to figure out which of their cards they want to lay out as far as the actions. Yes, maybe you would resort to this. But like I said, one of the gang, I won't name who it wasn't me, but one of the gang, one of Cameron's friends, just hated this, just despised this. Hated the fact, because we busted it out to try it out, to see, didn't like it, didn't like the pressure. They thought it made the game feel more cutthroat than it was. So, and I can see where they were coming from, where you can be playing this, and if everybody's, fairly quick at putting their actions and stuff down, this has a nice pace to it. I like the pace of it. It's it's not super cutthroat, but you get in other people's ways and you screw them over. It's just not really overly obvious that you're messing with them. So I like that aspect of it. Somebody else hated that. That would be like a 2-player game would be much more suited for them, because with a 2-player game, you've got enough maneuvering room that you're usually not messing with the other players. All right. So anyway, so that is the timing mechanic that they recommend that you utilize. Basically, it's neither here nor there in my opinion. So it doesn't make or break the game. If you like this aspect, throw it in. If not, feel free to ignore it, because the first couple of games you play is without it anyway. So, as I mentioned, that is pretty much how you play Valparaiso. So, what are my final thoughts and my review score? So, I gotta say, I liked it. I liked Valparaiso. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it. It's certainly not revolutionary. There's, like I said, the theme is just feels tacked on. At no point playing it was I thinking, wow, we're families in Chile, and we're building up the town into a city, and we're expanding, and we're trading overseas, and we're trading with the people inland and stuff like that. No, I didn't feel that at all. But I mean, I enjoyed the aspect of the programming actions. I dig that. Some people don't like that kind of stuff. Some people just have a hard time wrapping their head around it. Yes, somebody else from the gang did not care for it. Somebody actually despised this game. They just couldn't stand this game. We played it twice with them, and they were like, no, don't, because I play games 3 times before I do a review. Third time around, they were over, and they're like, don't be busting out that effing game. I was like, don't worry. We'll play some other stuff. Don't worry. It's okay. Get a grip. Otherwise, like I said, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I can see where some people will kind of get irritated for the fact of, especially with more players, you can really mess with other people. If you're going before them with your trading actions, you can screw them out of trading that they wanted to do, which is why they sent their merchant to that location in the first place. That can be really, really iffy. If you can't roll with the punches while you're playing a game, this is not going to be a game for you, because your plans are never going to come out the way you want them to, unless you're playing a 2-player game. That said, I think the sweet spot for this is like 3 or 4 players, probably 4 players. Reason is, then you have a little more maneuvering room than you do with 5 players. You're still utilizing the much bigger board. 3 players, yeah, with 3 players, you're still looking at you flip over the board, and you still have some options. It's a little tight. It's a little tighter in a 3-player game than it is with a 4-player game. but I enjoyed it. I like that. I like the fact that, you know, you're kind of fighting over certain areas, certain things that you want to do, certain trading that you want to do. So I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. The components are nice. I thought it was weird that the copper is orange as far as the actual wooden cubes, and it's yellow on the cards. I don't know. Couldn't get yellow cubes. I don't know. But otherwise, component quality is really nice. Cards are fine. Cardstock's fine. If you're going to play this a lot, obviously you're going to want to get the small European card sleeves and put those in there as well. All in all, I do have to take into account the opinion of some of the other gang, because I see where they were coming from. Just because it didn't personally bother me, like the timer, or that it can feel like you're constantly laying out and programming your actions and nothing ever works. I can see where they were coming from. So this is a game that I think is gonna be. I was gonna say it's probably gonna be as divisive with gamers as it is with us at the table. I liked it. Like I said, I don't think it's like earth-shattering or anything like that. But some people are not going to like this at all. All in all, I give Valparaiso a solid, I recommend it. I give it a solid 7.1 out of 10. It's good. It's not phenomenal. And it will piss some people off. So you got to be careful who you're going to sit down at the table with to play this. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. I do have a contest winner, and I've got another surprise as well. So who's still in chat, by the way? Please chime in if you're still watching the show. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes. Maybe everybody's gone. I don't know. Maybe they've all lost. Yeah. Maybe they've all left. All right, so Madman's still there. Flaming Huron's still there. Give you guys a couple more minutes. Give the gang a couple more minutes to chime in. Dead air is worse. You're not supposed to have dead air, right? I love how people complain. I've gotten comments on videos where it's like, oh, you talk too much. It's a live stream. It's like, geez, what am I supposed to do? All right, so we got the Madman and Flaming Huron are still watching. Okay, so the winner of the Pathfinder 2nd Edition PDF prize pack, I guess I'll bring that up real quick, is Shannon O'Malley. So, as I mentioned before, this was super easy for you to win. All you had to do is be a subscriber to the Gaming Gang channel here on YouTube. Shannon O'Malley, please send me a message. I believe you can message me at through YouTube. Otherwise, shoot me an email to my email address. So there is our big winner. All right, you guys lost the sound. Sound should be back. That's weird. Okay, so I'm not sure when he... That's pretty wild. Hey, there you go. So, like Flaming Huron said, don't talk and see how they complain. How about if I just turn the sound off? See if they complain then. All right, yes, I see what happened. I clicked on the wrong scene, and it's a scene that's supposed to have a video. So anyway, yes, there you go. Flaming Huron's like, I thought you were taking the comment to heart. All right, so it turns out we also have Sean Golier hanging out in chat. Sean, I think this is the first time you've chimed in chat. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you watching. So okay, so I was starting to share the cool news, and the cool news is that well, now I guess it's now 3 of them. So the Madman, Flaming Huron, and Sean, you've all won copies of the Pathfinder prize pack as well. So that's what happens when you hang around and you watch the show all the way to the end. Because I was like, I wanted to give out more prize packs. But it was one for every 65 subscribers past 1,600. And I think we were like 20 something away from the second prize pack. So what I need you to do is Sean, Madman, and Flaming Huron, shoot me emails. I think I have gotten emails from both Flaming Huron and the Madman before. I know I have from the Madman. But anyway, just shoot me a quick email. It's jeffmclear@thegaminggang.com, and I will make sure that you guys get the zip file that's got the 3 PDFs. Hope you enjoy it. I really, really like the second edition of Pathfinder and the B series as well. I gave them really, really high scores, review scores. So if you've never seen the videos, be sure to check that out. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, starting Monday, at least for next week, I don't know if we'll continue past that, but at least for next week, it will just be tabletop gaming news on the Daily Dope, live Monday through Friday at 7 o'clock Central Time. Hopefully you guys still tune in. Don't just sit there and be like, Jeff's not going to show me any games. Hopefully you stop by. Anyway, so as I always like to say, if you like the video, give it a quick thumbs up. If you like the channel, if you check out some of the videos, please subscribe. Don't forget, ring that bell. Not only will it tell you when a new video is uploaded, it'll also share with you when the stream goes live within about 5 minutes. Also, don't forget to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. And now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, it is Friday night. Everybody who joined me in chat tonight, thank you so much for hanging out, keeping me company. Hopefully everybody out there has a wonderful weekend, very safe weekend. I appreciate everybody who watches, regardless if they're watching live or on Memorex. And of course, I'll be back on Monday. So until then, happy trails. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.